All right, guys, what's going on? This is Mike Pagano. I'm over here with Darius from Akoye Media. Paul and myself have had the luxury to sit down and speak to him with our new segment. Where basically we want to reach out to fans for specific teams because when you deal with us, you're dealing with a wide view. But some of you guys, you want to hear from your fellow fans. So we're finding the most hardcore fans for each team. This week, we're starting off the way you have to start off with the Cowboys because they call themselves America's team.
It's America's team, right?
Exactly.
So-called, right?
So-called
America's
they're
team.
always in the media, regardless if it's a good year or a bad year. So what better way to start off everything? So Darius, how's it going? What's going on, boss? How can people find you?
Well, you can go out. First off, I appreciate you guys bringing me on and recognizing. So number one, I thank you guys for that. But you guys can find me on YouTube at Akoye Media. So you can just type in Akoye Media, and you'll find a slew of my videos there. Same name on Facebook, and also Twitter as well. So if you guys are interested in a I don't know if I can curse, but a trash talking Cowboys fan. You can definitely watch some of my stuff. I do a lot of breakdowns. I do a lot of reaction videos, things like that.
Definitely. And that's the purpose of this. I mean, we get widespread with things and we talk about every game, but we don't really get to focus hard on one team. And that's why we wanted to really bring this up. So every week we can do so. So let's go ahead and dive right into it because we don't want to take up too much of your time. Let's talk about these Dallas Cowboys. Now, everybody that's watching knows I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm going to leave that at the table right now. I'm not going to come with that trash talking right now, but
no, you earned it. You can do it. You earned it. I talk a lot of trash, so I got thick skin, man. So if you earn it, you earn it. Let's go ahead and do it, man.
Honestly, we didn't beat you on Sunday. You beat yourself. And the reason I say that.
Now I know you're an honest man.
Yeah, and the reason I say that is because Dak is wearing cuffs out there. Dak is not being allowed to do anything. I think it's 9 out of the 11 last games. He's been under 200 yards. I mean, what are you feeling about your QB right now? Are you feeling like he is that franchise QB? Or I've heard people talking about, is it possible time to draft someone? Remember, he was drafted in the 4th round, so he actually has a 4-year contract instead of a 5. So this is his last year. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that, again, I said this before, but I think we can actually win games with Dak, but it has to be a perfect storm, meaning we can't play from behind because he doesn't have the gunslinger mentality. I don't even want to say the arm because he can get the ball out. He's shown that he can do it from time to time, but he hasn't done it consistently enough for me to feel confident, or him to even feel confident in his ability to get the ball out there when we're behind. So that limits us. And the key word that you said earlier was we haven't allowed. If you mean the defenses haven't allowed Dak to do anything, I would agree. Or Dak himself hasn't allowed himself to do anything. But I don't think it's more so a limitation set upon him by our coordinator, Linehan. I'm not protecting Linehan at all because I don't really like him either. But I mean, I'm fair. I call a spade, and I see when I look at the film, even though I'm not a coach, I'm not a scout, but when I look at the all 22 film, I see men running open and Dak, for whatever reason, not hitting them, whether it be the line may break down at times, which it does, or he just sees them and doesn't feel that he can get the ball out there fast enough. So I would like to see him take some chances, throw some interceptions. Doesn't matter. Just take some chances down the field, man. Look at Ryan Fitzpatrick. This guy's supposed to be a journeyman. He's been on 7 different teams. And he comes in and he has no fear because he has nothing to lose. I think Dak plays like a guy who doesn't want to get his ball taken.
And he does. It is a very conservative play, but when I say it feels like they're limiting them, I don't see them going out and getting them anybody. I mean, if you look at the money that was lost, they cut Dez to save money, but they really didn't save a single dollar with the money that he took anyway.
Not at all.
And with other contract extensions. So it's the dead money was there. They didn't go out and get anybody for him. Jerry wouldn't move on the defense to get Earl. I'm saying it feels like they're limiting him because they're really not giving him much to work with. I mean, his 2 best receivers are short guys. They can't really get, big. They can't body for the ball like Dez can. Now, granted, I'm not defending Dez. Like, I understand he's gone, but
right.
I don't believe you guys have the proper pieces. And if you're going to run Dak, I mean, if you're only going to run Zeke 16 times a game, then you got to give him someone to throw to. You better put the ball in Zeke's hand 25 times if that's what the options are going to be.
Yeah, but it's a numbers game though. So you have to look at it this way. Like when people talk about how we run Zeke, Zeke had a horrible game too in Seattle. I mean, I would say this game in particular, I'm less mad at Dak than I am Zeke. And the reason I say that is, Dak's body of work has kind of, led to where we are right now with him. It wasn't the Seattle game alone. But Zeke in this particular game, if this were just in a vacuum, if we were judging in a vacuum, Zeke had a horrible game. He had a lot of miscues, a lot of uncharacteristic plays, and that cost us. We could have still won this game, and then we probably wouldn't be sitting here talking about Dak, even if he did put up, 120 yards passing, 160 yards passing, whatever, right? But so with that said, I think that it's more of a team loss this particular game.
Oh, definitely.
But
I agree.
yeah, but with Dak overall, I really I feel like they're moving the goal. You guys are ex-Marines, right? So if I were moving your target, you might hit it from time to time, and you might hit it consistently because you're trained to do that. But I feel like we keep moving the excuse for Dak. Last year, the excuse was Dez. He was a number one receiver, and I believe he still is. And now they got rid of him, and they said, "Hey, we don't need a number one because this Dak friendly offense by committee is where it's at."
Yeah,
Now we're saying,
everybody.
right now we're saying none of these guys can play. We need a guy in here who can get them, who we can force the ball to again. So it's like we can't keep moving the mark with Dak Prescott. It's either he's either putting up numbers or he's not, and you have to keep in mind he's putting up 160. He's averaging 160 yards per game over the last 11 games. And if you take out the Giants, the
one play in the Giants
last year, yeah, he had Dez on a slant last year. He had Beasley on a slant that went to the house, and he had Rod Smith on a slant that went to the house. So it wasn't like he tore them apart for 300 yards either. It just so happened that he had guys that broke free because we were playing practice squad players on a team that had already hung it up for the year. So with that said, if you X the Giants game out, with that 3 touchdown performance, Dak hasn't really shown that he can do it. And this is the passing era. So throwing 160 in the 90s with Troy Aikman and those guys,
that made sense.
Yeah,
right, that's great.
169 when you got guys who can't stay on a team like Fitzpatrick, or you have rookies or pseudo rookies like Mahomes. I still call him a rookie because he didn't play last year. But you have guys who are getting their first game experience who are lighting it up. You have Baker Mayfield who comes in a half and puts up 200 yards on 23 attempts and 17 completions. Like, hey, these guys are making you look very bad. So
Paul,
that's what my issue is.
Paul, I heard Jerry Jones 2 weeks ago on his radio show say that Dak is a mixture between Cam Newton and Jared Goff. What do you feel about? Do you think Jerry's gassing up his guy, or do you think Jerry truly believes that?
It's hard to say what Jerry really does believe, but I mean that's not even close to being true. He doesn't even have close to the arm that Cam Newton has, and he can't run like Cam Newton. So I don't really know where he's getting his information from, what he's thinking. But to me, that makes no sense.
What about you, Darius?
I mean, you already know what I think on that one. And this is my team, and I still, I'm honest though, man. And I get a lot of heat from Cowboys fans too. But no, he's not. Dak is Dak.
There's a place to be honest, and there's a place to be biased. Like when you're really winning or really losing, that's when you have fun with it. Like when Seattle was on top, I had fun with it. When we're on the very bottom, I have fun with it.
Right.
Middle, that struggle that you out there grinding. Sometimes you got to be real about it. Let's go ahead and move off of Dak, though. I mean, all the media is talking about Dak. Everybody knows about Dak. But what other things are you seeing right now with this Dallas team that worries you and maybe gives you some worries about this season? I know for me, I'm not a fan of your coaching, and I think that's a big handcuff for you guys. I truly believe that a new direction needs to come, but I do like your defensive line. Mm-hmm. I think you got a lot of stars there. In fact, Coward was saying yesterday, I believe, on the Herd, you guys have so much depth at the pass rushing. You guys could use that for trade leverage as well when it comes time for the draft. So I don't know how you feel about your team outside of Dak and Zeke, the more popular of the team. But what's your feelings going into the rest of this season? I mean, the quarter mark is coming up next week. What are you feeling?
I mean, I feel that the coaching staff does deserve a hell of a lot of scrutiny. But again, when you're on the outside looking in, it's kind of hard for me to judge this coaching staff as opposed to others because we really know whose hands in the cookie jar, and that's Jerry Jones. So some decisions you may say, okay, Jason Garrett's an idiot because he did this or that, or he didn't bring this guy in, or why would you bring in, the kid Kellen Moore to coach Dak, so on, right? A lot of decisions that have been made that you generally would blame on the coaching staff on other teams. On this team, you would probably see Jerry Jones overlook some of those things because he knows that those were his decisions and not decisions made by Jason Garrett. So that's why Garrett has probably kept his job for so long, because some of the things that we think are bonehead Garrett moves are actually
we know who
bonehead.
it really came from, right?
Exactly.
How can you fire someone for doing what you told him to do?
Exactly. So you can't
that
do
happens
that.
all the time, though.
Right. Like, I think Jason Garrett would be fired right now with Dak's performance after not allowing Tony Romo to compete for his job back in 2016, if that was actually Jason Garrett that made that decision. I think it was more so Jerry Jones and those guys saying, hey, we can save some money if we can get a guy in here who's on a rookie contract, who can play like that, who can at least play serviceably enough for us to win. So they made a business decision then, and I think that was more Jerry than it was this coaching staff. But with that said, the in-game decision-making and the lack of discipline that this offense shows, the lack of execution that this offense shows outside of Dak Prescott, does make me think that we just need we need someone who's not afraid to come in, work within whatever world Jerry's created over there, but still bring an element or a personality that can affect change overall. Because I think Chris Richard's definitely done that along with Rod Marinelli on the defense. I don't have a problem with our defense. I don't really care if we get Earl Thomas. I don't think that's where our problems lie. I think our problems lie generally on the philosophy on offense, along with and some of that could be Dak not being able to do some of the things you want to do, because I noticed in the film they ran a lot of comeback routes, a lot of button hooks over and over and over again, because those are the only plays he's comfortable throwing. When receivers just standing there saying, hey, throw me the ball, that's when he throws the ball. He's not throwing anticipatory throws at all. So you can't call you can't call a post pattern or a timing route when the guy is just going to wait for his man to be all the way open. And I know you guys probably play football, so they tell you if your quarterback's the ball's not on the way when you come out of your break, then it's late. Period. Yeah. So when you see those comeback routes and guys are standing there like this, like they're on Gilligan's Island, that's late. That's real late.
Definitely.
You shouldn't see his face when you throw the ball.
Now, we've heard about Jason Garrett being on the hot seat for years now. Every single year it seems like if they don't win 10 games or so, they say, is Jason Garrett keeping his job? Well, at what point does that come true, do you think?
I think this year is the year for everyone offensively. Number one, I think we've had a large enough sample size to determine whether or not this is working, both with Dak, with Jason, so on. And they've actually run out of excuses. There's not really too many holes for them to crawl in at this point. You can't hide behind ineptitude at wide receiver because you got rid of your problem receiver in Dez, right? He wasn't a problem, in my opinion, but they got rid of him nonetheless. So you can't hide behind that excuse. You can't say, and it's crazy if they try it, but you can't say that the receivers aren't good enough and we need better receivers in here after what they did with Dez. Because I don't care what anybody says with that. I don't think Jarvis Landry, Allen Robinson, or what's the kid's name from KC that just got signed?
Watkins?
Sammy Watkins. I don't think those guys are better than Dez today. I don't. I really don't. I would take Dez right now over Sammy Watkins. I would take Dez right now. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think Dez.
I've never seen Sammy Watkins do anything.
I think so.
I think Dez is a solid number 2, and I was actually having this conversation with Paul yesterday. He hasn't lost his ability to play. He could go to any team and play, but he's like a 2-3 now. He's not a 1 anymore. I don't think he still has his speed. I don't think he still has his same. He doesn't have the speed. Abilities.
I agree with that. He doesn't have
big body.
But I don't like, this is the thing that people keep doing with that. They look at him in the vacuum, but look at everyone else with all the gray, added in. It's not a black and white thing. I believe in cause and effect. Dez was Dez until he met Dak. That's all I have to say.
Yeah,
Dak
that
came
was
in
a
all of a
change of a
sudden.
QB,
These
a big
whispers
change.
of Dez not being who he was came in. But I take people back, and I've done this in a lot of videos, but I take people back to 2016, Dak's first year. People say, oh, Dez hasn't, he hasn't had over
I was
1,000.
watching your videos last night of the Dez can't run routes, Dez can't what was it? It was another one, but I did watch a
Dez
couple
not
of them.
guilty, knows.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
mean, I did see a lot of it, and you could see that it was a lot of the. I mean, it's the growing bonds between any QB and wide receiver, though. You get
correct.
a new QB, and I mean, we're surprised that Baker was able to get out there and even
Right.
connect with QB. I mean, these wide receivers without practicing with the ones. The
But
reason why people were
that shows
surprised
you
is
something.
because you need that connection. So I understand that. Honestly, I think Dez should be on a team. I'm really surprised that he's not. I think the Cowboys burned him a little bit,
Oh,
and I think
definitely.
that's messed up for what he's done for that fan base and for that
Yeah.
organization. He
Yeah.
definitely should be somewhere, but time will tell. The trade deadline is, it's still some distance between then. Let me
Yeah.
ask you this.
Go ahead.
If you could have any trade between now and the trade deadline, one trade in this NFL, who do you think would be the best to assist your Cowboys team to actually fighting for that wild card or to win your division?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, the obvious answer that everyone wants to hear is Earl Thomas, obviously. But I really, with the way the defense is playing, will he help? Oh, of course, he'll help. He'll turn us into a whole new monster. But I think we have so many issues on offense. I keep feeling that I need to say, a veteran QB behind Dak. I think that's what we need. Because number one, you were talking about how he doesn't run like Cam Newton. He doesn't, but he's not running like Dak either because he's injured. So I thought about the fact that if he does go down or if we need to bench him, who we're benching him for. So
That's a
I
good
like
question.
I like the idea that Ryan Fitzpatrick is coming back. Well, not coming back, but he's going back to the bench after Jameis Winston is ready to play, most likely.
You think so?
You think
Yeah.
so?
Oh, we might have to deter this from Cowboys talk because I think
Maybe
he
three.
solidified it last night. I
Oh,
know
well,
he
I
threw
think
the
he
quick pick,
should. He
but
should have the job. So
another 400 yards. That's no one in the 99 years of existence in the
has
NFL
ever
has
done
done
that.
that. So
He's
I mean,
playing like a man possessed. He looked like one yesterday.
here's
So
what Shannon Sharp said today that really caught my ear. Do the Bucks want to lose because Fitzpatrick throws 400 yards and some picks, or do they want to lose because Jameis Winston throws picks and no yards? And it made me think, because what has Winston done? He throws picks just like Fitzpatrick, but at least Fitzpatrick has that chemistry with Evans, with Howard, with
yeah, he makes that
Jackson.
offense look like a whole new offense, just like Baker
Yeah.
Mayfield made the Browns look real. So we need it. We need it. Yeah, they look real. I like the Browns.
Yeah.
This year for real. I like I love Ty Haley, so I knew I was going to watch them. I like
Yeah.
Greg Williams because I like violence for some reason.
Yeah.
I felt like when they brought those guys in, I was like, oh, this is going to be good. I actually wanted Dez to go there too, but I say that to say we definitely need a quarterback that can come in, and even if he's not going to start our play, we need someone who can get into Dak's ear and kind of coach him along the way. I think they started looking at Dak as if he was a veteran who already knew everything, and he's not. He needs somebody to kind of school him to certain aspects of the game live while he's in the game. Like, hey, listen, you have this open. If you just look left, you're going to stare down your receivers anyway. Just fake like you're staring down your guy to the left this time. Stare down Coach Beasley, and then look left real quick and throw to Thompson deep. Just do it. He doesn't have anybody that's like, putting a fire under his ass. And one thing that you guys should pay attention to, Dak wasn't brought into Mississippi State to start. He was brought in to be a backup. Quarterback got hurt. He came in and he balled because Dak plays better with pressure, with that type of pressure. He wasn't brought here to start. He was brought here to be a backup or a developmental quarterback that was serviceable if Romo were to go down. And then he wanted to keep the job, so he balled. The moment we gave Dak the keys to the castle and said, hey, it's your job, he hasn't looked the same. So I think bringing someone in who could sort of light that fire under his ass might bring the best out of Dak, or at least gives us the insurance that we need if we need to pull him to get to the playoffs. Because I feel like wasting that defense, like you said, we're deep on defense all the way across the board. We're 5 deep at linebacker. We have a guy like Jordan Lewis, who's one of my favorite D-backs sitting on the bench, hasn't even seen any playing time. That's how deep we are on defense.
Well, you worried about the recent injury on Sean Lee. This is 2 years in a row that hamstring is shown. Is it the hamstring?
Yeah, it's a hamstring.
The hamstring has been causing him issues for over a year now. And when he's not on the field, you're a completely different team defensively.
Well, we used to
quarterback.
We used to be. I really
you like
now.
That rookie?
Vander
Esch, man, he looks good.
I like him in space. I don't like Vander Esch in a mess. Like Sean Lee and Jalen Smith, Joe Thomas, those guys can kind of ski through the trash and get to the ball. Vander Esch is a guy that he can, he's great, a great cover two. He's a great coverage linebacker. I don't think he's a guy that I like taking on blocks yet. He's not there yet. But I think even with Lee gone, having Vander Esch out there, we're serviceable. Having Joe Thomas out there. Joe Thomas is one of my favorite linebackers on this team, and I think we would have more turnovers if we gave him more playing time. So I'm not afraid of Lee being out right now because of that. Last year, you're right, we didn't have the depth. We had a guy in Jalen Smith trying to, overcome an injury and learn the game in the game. So last year was a lot different than it would be this year. I'm not really worried about I call him going with the wind because I said on Twitter, like, the wind blew him too hard and he got hurt because I don't know where he got hurt this game. But yeah, he's always hurt.
It happened suddenly. He just disappeared in the second half. And I remember when I saw it, I said, well, there goes a chance of them coming back, because I really thought that was when I saw that, because he's a major force. But you're right, the rookies, the young talent, the new team members, I mean, your defense is much better. So we're close to the end of this, so I want to switch it a little bit up to your division itself. You are in a division with some strong competition. Now, the Giants, not so much. I don't, me and Paul have talked about it. We don't think they're that great. I mean,
they haven't gelled yet offensively.
They have talent, but I think they need to move on from Eli, and I think Eli is a problem there. But the Redskins are showing – it's a little inconsistent, but they're showing strength. I mean, 1 week they destroy the Packers. The next week they can't handle themselves. But it is inconsistent battling. But the Eagles, Wentz comes back. He's rusty, threw a pick, but he was accurate. He was moving in the rain, and he was able to win the game. And, hey, what matters? W's matters. Right. So what are you feeling about this division this year? Do you guys think that you have the ability to come up and take it? Do you think this is going to be a wild card year, or is this a bust year and a rebuild year?
I mean, defensively, I feel like I'm overly confident. I feel like we could do a lot of things with this defense. I haven't seen guys fly around the ball like this in a while, especially in a Cowboys uniform. I don't think ever in a Cowboys uniform. And that's judging the Super Bowl defenses we had, too. This is one of the better defenses I've ever seen us have. So defensively, I feel like we can compete with anybody in the league, our division or whatever. Offensively, it's going to be a tough climb because the one problem in this division that we have is every team in this division is built to beat us. And when I say built, I mean they're built to try to stop the run and limit the pass. They all have, serviceable secondaries, but great up front. Their front sevens are pretty strong and stout. So Washington's strong. The Eagles' front four is crazy. And then, the Giants, you see how they play us. They play us tough every time either way. You're going to get injured or someone's, going to feel it when they play us. So with this division, as long as we can keep games competitive, run the ball, keep games close, we have a shot to win any game, because Dak seems to turn it on only in the fourth quarter. He'll have 40 yards in the game and then put up another 120 in the fourth quarter, and that's it, right, when we start running the hurry up. So as long as we can keep games close and make it so that we're either playing with a lead or playing in a position where Dak does not have to put the game on his arm, we have a shot. That is easier said than done, though. So we might slide into the playoffs, but I'm just being realistic. We might slide into the playoffs unless there's a switch that we haven't seen that Dak can get to. And people think I hate on him, but I really am hoping that this isn't it, because if it is, that's a waste. This is a waste of some of the most talent that I've seen on defense in a while, and these guys aren't all going to be here next year, as you said. So I think that would be a waste of a team. I would be utterly pissed off if we don't put something serviceable together offensively.
Last question for you. Do the Cowboys draft a quarterback this offseason?
Well, we drafted one this offseason, so I think, yeah.
I'm talking, should I say, do the Cowboys look for Dak's replacement? If he doesn't pick it up this season, if he stays what he's been outside of his rookie year, is it time to go hunting? And does Dak get that option?
I think the best. This is just my scenario. If it were my team, the best thing to do to me would be go out and grab a veteran quarterback that can play with his team right now. I wouldn't fire the coaches. I wouldn't blow the team up because then we're really rebuilding. We have something there. So I would go out and get a veteran quarterback that knows how to say, Linehan, get out of here. Jason, you go ahead somewhere, whatever, right? And let me just do what I do like Romo used to. But we need a veteran quarterback that knows what he's doing on the field. Allow Dak to sit behind him and learn if he can humble himself enough to do that, and then
That
see
might
what
be
he
hard.
had.
That
Yeah,
might
it
be hard.
might be hard, but
Once you've
that's
had
the
that stardom and you've had that celebrity. But I
right.
mean, hey, it happened. I mean, it happened to
But
Alex Smith.
that's the best bet for us, though. I don't think going out and getting a rookie is always the answer because it depends on who you can get. If we can get Tua, that kid Tua, to I don't know how to say his last name.
Oh, from Bama, yeah.
Yeah, if we can go out and get somebody like that, then yeah, okay, let's draft a quarterback. But that means we would have to really bomb this year to be able to qualify for a top draft pick.
Or you
So,
trade. You've got.
are we
We
trade?
talked about it. You guys got a lot of pass rushers.
Yeah,
Well,
we can.
and to your point too, I mean, just because Ryan Fitzpatrick, whether he continues to start for Tampa Bay this year or not, he could be on the market next year to avoid controversy. So that's a
Right.
possibility for the future,
Right. Like we did with Vinny. You guys had Vinny Testaverde too at the Browns back in the day. So,
Yeah.
like we did with Vinny Testaverde, you bring a guy in there that can play. You get your some playoff wins, or you get your 10-6 season and going, and then sort of like the Bills just did with Josh Allen. They had Tyrod Taylor as a veteran coming in and just keeping this team relevant, and then bring someone in later on who can sort of carry the torch. But I honestly think that if Dak plays the next 4 games the way he played the first 3, he should be out of here. Period.
Right.
I don't care if we win or not. I mean, even if we make the playoffs and he's still averaging 170 and we somehow figure out a way to Trenton Dilfer it into the playoffs, get him out of here.
You can't win without a quarterback these days. You can't.
Right.
That is the truth. Well, Darius, hey, we appreciate you coming on with us. You're the very first of this series, and I want to just let you know right now, you've set the bar. Guys, if you're watching and you're a fan, pay attention. My man knows his football knowledge. He knows what's going on. He knows his players. That's what we want. We want great knowledge here. We want good, let's get it going and talk football. You guys make sure you go to his YouTube page, Akoye Media.
Yes, sir.
Akoye Media, if you're a Cowboys fan or if you just enjoy football talk like myself, like Paul, we are extremely very humble that he was willing to come on here. You guys enjoy the rest of the podcast. We're going to go ahead and get back to Mike. So future Mike, back to you.
Appreciate y'all, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
No doubt. Thank you, Paul. Thanks, Mike.